Sorry for the huge box over there. I'm still unpacking Christmas stuff. Anyway, hey everybody, this is Retrokid Reviews. Probably going to be doing the shortest spoilers review for The Matrix Resurrections. Quick disclaimer, I'm going to be, throughout this review, I'm going to talk about some Christmas stuff I got just yesterday, as of this recording for Christmas. I got new PVC statues of the Power Rangers line, so those will be on my Instagram feed pretty soon, as well as a new short, hopefully next week, and a Toku review I planned in advance for next week as well, because I'm probably going to try to take a break, semi-break. This is not a full, I'm taking a vacation thing. I did a vacation 2 weeks back. Work is work like that. Anyway, that's where I am. You'll know when those videos drop, so don't worry about it. It's going to be, on the short side of things, a hot take that was kind of building so far. Again, I won't spoil it until that video drops. So yeah, on to Matrix Resurrections, and coming off of one viewing, and I should have really done a second viewing leading up to this review. Yeah, it's a mess. The good news I can say on Lana Wachowski's end, she definitely didn't miss her cinematography. She definitely didn't miss her vision of what this world was, along with her sister Lily, who's not here for this outing due to the grounds of obligations of doing a bunch of documentaries for Showtime for people's transitions and stuff. For those who don't know, the Wachowskis used to be guys, now trans women, so I won't be referring them as their dead name selves. That's kind of how I'm starting to understand on the trans community side of things. Again, if I got it wrong, please let me know in the comments down below. Please don't turf on terminology of how I got it wrong. Just give me the context. I'll know next time. Thank you, and let's get on to this review. Starting off at the top, Keanu Reeves did not miss a beat when it comes to being Thomas Anderson again, otherwise known now, obviously, for the rest of this franchise, is Neo. Basically, the first half hour is probably the most meta I've seen this thing has become, and probably Lana's way of just trying to, like, explain and, like, I guess have her voice of, like, the last 20 years of fan theories, down to, like, college thesis pieces and stuff like that, down to, like, even earlier, I think last year, when anti-SJW channels tried to, like, debunk the trans allegory themes of the first movie. Long story short, it was a rough half hour. Again, and if you go past that noise, it's just basically established that, yes, they did, the machines definitely resurrected Neo and Trinity, and yes, they really did get reinserted back into the Matrix. And on Thomas's side of things, he basically became a game developer and stuff like that. Some nice wink and nods to some of the coding and stuff later on, but definitely the one I have to agree is a little too meta, even for my taste, was them name-dropping Paramount, because in The Matrix proper, they never really name-dropped any franchises and stuff like that. If they did, it was probably in the background, and it was probably the most they could do with the 1999 budget, even though it was ballooned into new tech at the time. Now that technology has catched up to what the Matrix was trying to be, it's kind of samey CG. Now, in the Marvel MCU kind of sense, no, it does look sort of expensive, but you also have to keep in mind, technically speaking, on how this thing was shot, it was also during the first months of COVID, so you also have to understand that this was a lot bigger of a risk than just having it delayed for another year and a half. I understand it was probably impossible now at this point to even do reshoots to make sure everything's on point, and maybe to kind of get scrap it in general to see if they could get both Wachowskis back, but I don't think that was going to be the case. And you're wondering why I haven't talked much about the plot, because it's basically, I don't know which movie it was trying to be again. Either the first movie again, not really happy if you saw through that first half hour. If you wanted to be a actual where you wanted to be sequel after the last two movies, it's there when you get to Io, basically their new Zion, which is really nice and all. I will agree for most of the people who are talking positives about this movie is that Jessica Henwick's Bugs is actually a really good runner. She's definitely primed to be like a legacy character to somebody, which would be cool. Or, since it is The Matrix, it's probably the easiest explanation to make their version of Rey without having to have lineage with somebody. So, again, it's anybody who got plugged into The Matrix, and anybody could have done what Neo also did and found a way to become the one throughout their own ways. So, again, it's in the realm of possibility. However, she really wasn't, character-wise. Like, she was just another captain for, like, a Nebuchadnezzar wannabe ship that probably got name-dropped, I guess, somewhere. I forgot where exactly. So for Yahya Abdul Martin II, hope I got his name right. I don't have the IMDb on me, so if I got the name right, please let me know in the comments down below and give me a like, if that's the case. So, wow, almost biting my teeth aside. Yeah, so much for spittles. Yeah, yeah, he did the best of what he could with the material as the new Morpheus. In character, he's basically reprogrammed, so basically his death in Matrix Online is technically canon, to the point that they made a monument for him, in what was left of Zion's, I think, how do I say this nicely, dance room. I know I have a lot of new viewers lately that are probably a little younger, so again, just know it's a dance room. When you get older, I'll explain why later. So if you know, you know. Yeah, so they had the whole candle ceremony kind of thing there too. Which is really nice and engaging because I kind of want to see more of the real world. I want to see more of what the stakes were after the last 60 years in between the movies, because most people in the franchise know what they saw was when they're in the Matrix, you think it's like the late 90s and early 2000s, and actually it's like a lot older than that, and even more so when you get into the sequels. Same thing here, but not as egregious as when the architect basically explained everything Reloaded. That job, thankfully, is now with Neil Patrick Harris's analyst, who is basically in the Matrix Neo's therapist, to keep him keep him docile, to keep him staying alive with this whole staying in the simulation as best as he could. The thing I didn't like when you get into the second half of the plot, mainly two things. One, hilariously, they did bring back the Merovingian, or the Frenchman nowadays, terminology-wise, and yeah, he kind of hammed it up for his one scene, because he only got one scene later on, but it's worth it. I'm not going to spoil much of it. It's kind of funny to see how much of a fall from grace that character was. And if this was like a book series, it's kind of like your favorite Tom Bombadil, or like insert funny character here, go through something crazier. It's kind of like that. It's kind of funny, kind of cool. But yeah, in the analyst side of things, he's basically using a lot of slow-mo time kind of stuff, because they basically, in universe, they were kind of pissed that Neo figured out how to do the slow-mo bullet time effect thing, and it was like, yeah, we're gonna need that the next time the one wants to like kick our ass again. So that's kind of where you are there. The thing is, again, the CG has definitely moved up the chains to like very basically insurmountable stuff, and it's really cool. In his case, it kind of got shot like a 90s music video, like all quick cut edited and all. It's like, it was weird, personally. I don't know. I'm not mad at MPH. He did the best of what he could with the material. It's just pretty average for a villain, which is not bad in my eyes when it comes to this franchise. It's still a mess, because we gotta talk about Jonathan Groff. Long story short, he's the new Smith. He's also supposed to be meta-wise, if you sat through that first half hour, Neo's basic producer trying to force him into doing another sequel. And I think this is where I need to see confirmation from the Wachowskis' end if this was actually a meeting they had with Warner. Because I think in character he said, look, we're going to do this one way or another. Like, we're going to do it with or without you. The studio really wants us to do it. That's a line of dialogue that I think a lot of creatives are probably putting up with to this day. If that's actually a call for help kind of scene, I hope it isn't, personally. So, that said, he's kind of let down. Long story short, Groff is doing the best, like I said throughout this review, what he could with the material, but he's clearly not Hugo Weaving. He's clearly playing the hits. And another thing, I thought it was just the trailers. They were just splicing stuff from the old movies just to get you hyped into it. No, that's the cinematography going throughout the rest of the whole movie, just to give like stock footage member berries of the franchise. I'm like, yeah, I know it was kind of egregious when Star Wars did it shot for shot, but at least it was shot and produced and recreated instead of just show you stock footage and do cheap thrills with it. It's, again, as a Power Rangers fan, I put up with it because how the hell else do you match up with Sentai footage? But in a Matrix franchise, that's cool, but it would be cooler if you could recreate it and do like an actual retcon like some sequels in this caliber can do. You have the money, you have the budget. I know it's pretty much unfair because this was the first of many movies that got delayed COVID-wise, so I clearly understand why. Another thing, I think there was a bit of a 20-year absence in, I guess, filming gap in Lana's end, is that she apparently didn't really understand how far Keanu has come as a martial artist, at least on screen. I don't know business terms-wise, I don't know if he actually does an actual professional fight. Kimbo at all. I don't know what martial arts he has. Again, personally, Wikipedia it yourself. But if you've seen the John Wick franchise, he has definitely come a long way since the Matrix franchise to prove that he can still do subpar, if not better, action movies than he could in the late 2000s. And for some reason, he looked like he got nerfed just doing that kind of stuff. On being the one side of things, I get him having his powers getting nerfed. to put Trinity over in the end to be the new one, or I guess a tag team one. That's my headcanon. I like the idea of it. It might work as a sequel, hopefully, but that's just me. But if it's your way of, like, him using, like, the stuff he learned during the John Wick movies to do his tactical reloads and stuff, that would be cool, but they never really utilized it. My personal theory so far is probably it's a schedule thing due to COVID. That's how I feel it. It's not enough to excuse most of this movie, I will agree. The only good news for this movie's case, I don't think it's gonna make my top 5 best and worst in the year. It might in 2022, who knows? So until then, should you see this movie in theaters? Good Lord, no. Of course this was going to be smoked by Spider-Man No Way Home. Go to my previous review talking about that. Getting to the point, I don't know how much it's making overall. We're still in the midst of its first weekend as of this recording, so I won't get the final numbers till probably Monday. And I'll talk about it again after I get through all my pre-recorded stuff, probably that following week. Other than that aside, I really wanted this to succeed somehow in some small way. It is a mess. It really is. But I'm more favorable to it, hopefully finding a voice somewhere else. Again, like I said in my Matrix retrospective earlier this week, I really hope those same people that defended those two sequels and the Animatrix and the online games find something in this reboot that they want to see. And it's conflicted even for me. On one hand, on the first act, it wants to just be a reboot and also be meta explaining why this doesn't work anymore. And then on the other half, you get the sequel that you wanted. Because after that hurdle, the effects are really good. When you see the runners do their stuff like usual, it's really jarring and really exciting at the same time. Jessica Henwick looks like she didn't sleep on the stunts, and she could tell how, like, proud she was even on her Instagram feed. Again, that's just me looking outside within. That being said, I don't know where was the direction after that. Maybe Lana was having some sort of crisis and didn't want to actually go through with it and want someone else to do it. But getting even a remake would be somewhat weird, somewhat jarring, but at least in my opinion could still have the themes of the original franchise. But I also know anti-SJWs are still going to be bad one way or another because they'll think it's woke by default. It always was, and they're never going to change their minds. So I feel like if she does do this again, I want her to do it with her sister, and I want her to do it right. If you're going to talk back at this kind of dialogue, at this kind of counterculture against your movies after all these years, at least do it right next time. That's how I feel for now. Ending-wise, not much. He does choose to make Trinity basically be a tag team once. That's my idea of it. Maybe like a Mega Powers thing. Again, me using wrestling terminology for a complex series that is The Matrix is kind of bold, even for me, of all people. But overall, on my rating scale, it's a 5 out of 10. I'm sorry. I'm going to meet it halfway eventually. Maybe on a second rewatch, I could find something new. Like, that's the beauty of what was the Matrix sequels. People did rewatch it years later and saw something that might have made some sense in the end, but here it needs to make a lot more sense. For all the cameos you do get, aside from the Merovingian and obviously Niobe, Jada Pinkett comes back and she basically leads IO, so it makes sense, seniorhood-wise, and I guess moving up the ranksmanship-wise. Again, if you're looking as like a Star Trek militaristic level, again, I'm overthinking it. Then again, this is the franchise. You're allowed to overthink, but if I'm overthinking the little details like that should have been more canonical, that's kind of not good. Overall, I am going to defend some of this movie, not a whole lot, obviously, but it'd be weird if it got NECA figures, I'm just saying. But that all being said, what did you think of this movie? What did you think of the Matrix franchise as a whole? My apologies for not doing a full retro review series of these 3 movies. I thought the retrospective would make a lot of sense, very creative, because again, this is the Matrix. You can't talk the first movie without everything else, so it's nice to go back into retrospectives. It might help me going forward with future franchises I want to talk about in 2022. So that being said, I am Retrokid Reviews, thinking I was not going to talk that much about this movie, but went full spoilers, but it's the Matrix. Even going full spoilers requires even more explanation after that. So your mileage may vary, people who defended it. I'll link some reviews I like down below that didn't sugarcoat and try to be as honest as I can about this, and at least a little bit positive on some of it. Now, that being said, end cards finally come up to my previous content here, which the retrospective, as I said. Shorts playlist here for for that, and my early Christmas news about Commerce 01 finally being full-blown legal. Again, if you're in the West, definitely watch it while you can. It's totally worth it. And with that all being said, obviously new shirt here, by the way. Yeah, I got new shirts, so that's going to be fun for 2022. Here, to sub to the channel, notification bell down below in case somehow, some way, The Matrix got a new game or anything. Because before I close out, I just want to say I tried their Unreal 5 or whatever their new tech demo was. And that was really good. That was really interesting. And I'm pretty much hoping that that does extend that kind of universe lore. And if anything, have both atrocities come in to explain what was supposed to be Retrokid's plan plot-wise before COVID hit. That's where I'm thinking it at the very least. So with all that being said, and not wasting more time than usual, I am Retrokid Reviews. Happy holidays. Happy hopefully 2022 movie-wise better than this. And yeah, end of the year videos are coming next week. Probably after New Year's, I'll just do my best and worst movies and my best and worst TVs, shows, going on. With that all being said, I don't really do the red pill, blue pill choices. If there was a third option, I take it, but honestly, I still want to see how this rabbit hole goes. I mean, it can't get any worse than this, right? Like, you wasted Keanu. He still knows Kung Fu, which is good, but he knows a lot more than Kung Fu nowadays. Just watch the John Wick franchise. I'm just saying, it's way better than this.